Good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Leader's Edge. Today, we're going to show you Season 6, Episode 4. And we're in for a very good treat tonight. Our speaker has a degree in pharmacy from the University of the Immaculate Conception. She's a past president of the Omicron Charter of UIC, and she was a pharmacy professor as well there. She was the past president of the Davao Pharmaceutical Association and past secretary Mindanao Federation of Pharmaceutical Associations. She is currently the pharmacist of the new Farmacia Suihu. Aside from her career, she's very involved with NGOs. She's a board member of the Davao Beautiful Foundation, board member of the People Helping People Foundation of Rotary International, past president of Rotary Club of Downtown Davao, past president of Rotary Club of Davao in 2000, and past senior assistant governor of Rotary District 3860. Now, in Toastmasters International, where I serve with this lady, she is the reigning Table Topics National Champion. That's the impromptu speech category of Toastmasters International. She's a past evaluation national or district champion as well. She is a first runner-up for Humorous speech. And in terms of leadership, with all her accolades, these are the most important ones in Toastmasters International. She served as the district governor of District 75, and that's the whole Philippines, from 2005 to 2006. And she led the Philippines to the Select Distinguished District status, number 8 in the whole world. She later on served as the regional advisor in 2013-2014, and she served as the international director of Toastmasters International in 2016 to 2018. With all these activities and achievements, she surely has a ton of stuff to share with us. And our speaker will be touching on ideas and tips on how we can catch the lessons that we should and can look for and pick up during our busy lives. Ladies, she's a lady. Okay. 5, 4, 3. This lady has so many pasts, but with the brightest of future. An honor to have served with her, and equally important, it was fun serving with her. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you our speaker for tonight, Elisa W. Hello, Elisa.
Hello, Mike. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Good to see you finally here at the Leader's Edge. And I'm very excited. Liz going to catch all the lessons you're going to share with us. Huh?
I sure drop a lot of lessons too along the way.
Yeah. I'm sure all our people listening in are going to be excited. They're all probably waiting for you to share your tips. So anytime you're ready, Elisa, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, good evening. Thank you, Mike, for that introduction. And I'm happy to be here with all of you. I'd like to start this session with a short story. When I was in kindergarten, I used to join declamation, oratorical contests, everything. But somehow something happened when I started in grade 1 all the way to high school. I became a mouse. I just started staying in the corner and I didn't participate. I didn't do anything until when I think this was in 4th year, when we were assigned to do a reporting in class. And it was an individual work. And something just clicked. I made my research, I planned my presentation, and then on the day, I reported. And the teacher was so shocked and so surprised that I had a voice that she forgot to give us a quiz that day. So I realized that there is a certain power in speaking, in speech, and that we have lessons that we could all pick up along the way. So I found my voice, but sometimes we do tend to hide them because when we speak up and share our idea, oftentimes we become the hitman. Okay, it's your idea, you're in charge. Okay, because you speak very well, you are it. So oftentimes we tend to drop that voice. We tend to drop some of the lessons that we catch along the way. This evening, I'd like to share with you a few lessons that I caught through my journey in life. And oftentimes, I caught them and I dropped them. Sometimes it's because we might have too many balls going on in our lives that we are too busy to catch one of them. And so oftentimes we say in the dialect, nauuntog, because we get hit repeatedly by these lessons which we drop. So I'd like to start with the first point by sharing a story of my niece. She is Trisha. When she was around 3 years old, something happened with the wires in her brain. It all got crossed over and became mixed up. And so when she approaches any of us, she would go like this. You know she is conversing with you. She is sharing something, but we cannot show that we cannot understand her because the more she gets frustrated. Her parents were worried. They were about to go to a speech therapist to find out what was wrong. It was a good thing the pedia told them, can you try to check first which language she would respond to? Because we had Bisaya from the nanny, we had Tagalog from the mom who used to work in Manila. The lola, my mom, would speak to her in Hokkien Chinese. And they had English and they had Barney, cartoons, cartoon characters. So everything crossed. And then after a week or two, the parents noticed that she responded very well to English. And said the order came from the dad and said, okay, now everybody speaks to her in English. And we followed, except of course my mom, who insisted that she has to speak in Hokkien to her apo. So that was one lesson I caught early on, that we have to know our audience. We have to learn to understand what language they will respond to. And when I was a president of Rotary, we used to go to the mountains, to the deep to the communities. I can converse to them in Bisaya. But when it comes to the point wherein I have to speak to the entire community, I cannot. I cannot speak to them also in English because then they will not be able to get the message. I had to tap one of our members who was a local politician who could speak the language, because then he could speak to them. He could share their ideas. When it was a program in the city, I will be the one speaking. When it was with our guests from Japan or from other countries, we had another person. So first lesson I learned was know your audience, know what language they will respond to, and know your team, and they work together. Because when you are the leader, it doesn't always mean that you are the only one who speaks. You have a team, you have a group of people, and it's just as important to know their strengths. Because then we are able to work together as a team. Some would be more vocal, some would be more on the statistics side, some would be more technical. But we all have one goal, and that is to ensure that our audience, our members, our community will be able to understand us. So understand your audience, know your team. That was one lesson I caught. And sometimes I do drop it from time to time because there is a tendency to want to do things yourselves, to speak out. But when we look at the end goal, it has to be as a team. Second lesson that I caught along this journey in life. When I first joined Toastmaster, I had this goal to become a competent Toastmaster within a year. This was in 1989. I'm a slow learner. That's why I've been with Toastmasters for such a long time. So I said, I'm going to be a competent Toastmaster within 1 year. 10 speeches, right, Mike? 10 speeches.
Yeah, 10 speeches.
So I did it. In the first year, I completed my competent Toastmaster.
Wow.
And after that, I just dreamt of becoming a distinguished Toastmaster. But I did not have a goal. I did not have a timetable. I just wanted to be a distinguished Toastmaster. So that was a lesson that I did not catch. I dropped. I was starting to build castles in the air, imagining distinguished Toastmaster Elisa, but I did not lay the foundation for which this castle in the clouds will stand. I forgot to set my timetable. So build your foundation is the second lesson I caught. We have to set a goal. We have to plot our timetable. And that is one lesson that have supported me in a lot of activities. So this year, this term, I asked our Vice President for Education, I told her, I'm going for Triple Crown and I'm going to finish a path.
Wow.
And to do that, I need to set a timetable for that. So we have to plot that. And so far, I am on track for that. So when we do set goals and we plot our time and make sure we hit those targets along the way, we will be able to hit our dream, our goals. It is not bad to build castles in the air, but we have to make sure that that foundation is solid underneath those dreams. So we had 2 lessons already. Know your audience and know your team. Second, build your foundation.
Lisa, I'm just curious. It might not be related, but when you joined Toastmasters in 1989, right?
Yes.
You said? Yeah. Why and how did you join? How did you get into Toastmasters? Some people might be curious.
Yeah, I joined Toastmasters because at that time, the president of Durian Toastmasters was G. Europa. He invited Diling Royo. And Diling did not want to go alone. She invited the entire faculty, but I was the only foolish one who went with her.
Okay. Oh, you served with Diling in the faculty at that time.
Yes,
okay.
I was teaching at that time. So we went, it was a noontime meeting. We had lunch. I fell asleep.
Okay.
I went to sleep. It was after lunch and after a heavy lunch, full room, I went to sleep. Diling joined. It took me another 3 years to join.
Oh, I see. Okay, it took a while. Okay. Okay, so I was just curious on how you, that's good. That's good.
That's when I was elected president of the Davao Pharmaceutical Association, and I realized I would need skills in communication, ideas, and then set plans. And that's when I decided personally to join Toastmasters. So I told Diling, who was now president of the club, I want to join.
Okay.
So that's when I joined Toastmasters.
Yeah, so just a little background there on Elisa, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, go ahead, Elisa.
Okay, so in conjunction with that, third lesson I learned was to stop and smell the flowers. It might seem silly, but when we take a journey of learning in life, we need to be worried or be aware of the different goings on around. Some rush through it to become a distinguished Toastmaster, and they cherry pick the roles along the way, just deliver speeches to hit a certain goal. But I went through it being a club officer. I was treasurer, I was VP Ed before I became president. And then I enjoyed the journey competing, doing service with speechcraft, learning the skills in evaluation before I even step up for the next leadership post. So along the way, I really enjoyed myself, opened myself to all the learnings that I could get from Toastmasters. Join contests, volunteer, and all these things. Going around the different clubs, serving as driver, as assistant to visiting district governors, because in this way, I was able to imbibe their leadership ideas, their thoughts on how to lead a team, their thoughts on how you could manage a team and achieve your goals. All this I did along the way. I did not rush through it. So even if we are in our work or at home, we need to be aware of things that are going on. Oftentimes we miss this in our rush to achieve our dreams, our goals. We rush through life. Sometimes we forget the people along the way, the experiences that we can gain, the learnings that we get.
Okay.
So all these are part of our journey, and all this builds layers of foundation for what we are as leaders and as teachers, as parents today. So we have to experience that journey. So stop, smell the flowers, enjoy the scenery from time to time.
But Elisa, if you look at it on the surface, lesson number 2 and lesson number 3 seems to contradict each other a little bit, right? Because lesson number 2 means we stay focused, be laser focused on, and make sure there's a timetable. Okay. So lesson number 3 is saying that, don't rush into things, just take time to enjoy everything as well. So I just maybe can elaborate a little bit more. Although your example seems to, like, smelling the roses has side effects or positive consequences because you are enjoying it, and at the same time, you are meeting the key people who are part and essential to the journey of our Toastmasters program. But how do other people, when you say some people might interpret like lesson number 3 is to spend more time doing other stuff outside of our goal and objectives, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but when you look at this, when you set your goal, you set a timetable. You don't set yourself to a very short timetable that will not give you a leeway. You have to make sure that the journey it's progressive. So if you come up with, say, a plan to become distinguished Toastmaster or to achieve something in life, and you miss out on everything else, it might take some time to get there because there are some steps that you miss along the way. So
the key is balancing.
Yes,
the key is balancing.
The balance should be there because we might burn out before we reach our goals. So the end point might be for, let's say if it's a Toastmaster thing, the end goal might be a distinguished Toastmaster. It's the highest, right, in terms of education and leadership.
Yes.
And there are a lot of lessons that we need to pick up along the way to become an effective leader. It's not just the delivery of speeches. That is what I'm saying when we have to go through the process. We have to become, say, not just an officer. We have to serve as a mentor along the way. We have to try to help somebody along the way because we need all these skills to become an effective leader.
Yeah. Okay.
So it will always be a balance. We did have fun, right?
Yeah, we did.
When we do our journeys for, let's say, work, we always make sure that we set time for some me time or for some relaxation because we need it too. It doesn't mean that when we set a goal or a timetable, we already erase these things. We need it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so fourth.
Yeah,
Yes.
for
Fourth, right? So Candy Crush. We used to play this, right? Or are we still playing it?
no.
Because it takes too much time. You know, when I started playing Candy Crush, I played. And I was asking a friend, Dottie, to also join in the craze of the Candy Crush craze. And she said, no, it's going to take me too much time. And eventually she went into it and started playing. And she overtook me in terms of level stages. I said, how can you do it? I said, I've been at this stage for so many weeks already, I cannot get through it. And she was telling me, what are you doing? What are you playing? What are the goals? What are the objectives of that particular stage? I said, it's to collect 20 red candies, 20 blue, and 20 greens. And what are you doing? I said, I'm enjoying making all those bombs along the way. So I got sidetracked. I forgot the objectives of the game. So it's going back to number 2, wherein you set your goals. You have to focus on them. You have to remember the objective of what you are doing. So like what the CEO of Toastmasters will always tell us, Mr. Dan Rex, you have to make sure that the main thing is your main thing. So for a district director or the district trio, it's the set of goals that we have. Membership payments, clubs, club renewals, DCP points. Those are 3, and we should not lose sight of them. But we also have number 3. We have to ensure that people will enjoy their journey when they're doing Toastmasters. But we cannot lose sight of these objectives. Sometimes we get too engrossed with number 3 that we forget about number 2 and 2. Okay. So all these are they interconnect with each other. And oftentimes we drop one of them. We catch the ball, we are focused on it, and then we get sidetracked. Maybe we have some fun along the way, and we forgot about the goals that we have established. So Candy Crush, sometimes it's fun, but it could be distracting too. Right?
Yes, that's true.
Last one, apply your skills. This is one speech project in competent Toastmasters. When we get to our competent Toastmasters goal, right? We call it apply your skills.
Number 7, huh?
Yeah. All that we have learned, we have to apply. We have to make use of them. There was one Toastmaster, his name was Ramon. He did his icebreaker. And after he delivered his icebreaker, he told his friends, his co-members, he said, you know, after I delivered my icebreaker, I felt I died. Because of nervousness, because of tension, and he said, I died. But the following week, he was back for speech project number 2. And his introduction was this: when I was here last week to deliver my icebreaker, I died. And since I'm dead, I might just as well continue project number 2. He was getting on the horse and going for it. Oftentimes we start something and then we don't pursue it. That's why with new members, I always tell them, once you start delivering your speech, go for it. Keep on doing it. Because then you will get the hang of it. The moment you stop, you have to recharge and regain your confidence in yourself to deliver a speech. So apply your skills. There was a young Toastmaster in Malaysia. She was a geodetic engineer. So all her world was about numbers and sciences and research. And then she tagged along. She became a mentee of the district governor. So she went around. She learned how to handle speechcraft. She observed how speech contests were made and developed and how members were mentored, coached. So she learned all these skills tagging along with the district leaders. And one day she was telling the district governor, you know, I think I will not renew next term because I don't feel I'm getting anything from Toastmasters. And good thing was that the district governor told her, you have learned all these skills in Toastmasters. You have learned how to organize. You have learned how to evaluate. You have learned how to motivate people. And to all these questions, he said, yes, that's true. And the district governor told her, and why are you not applying these skills in your work? Oftentimes we compartmentalize things. What we learn here, we don't bring to this side of our world. So we have to apply the skills that we learn at one part to the rest of our lives that's going on. So she did. The skills that she learned in Toastmasters, she now started applying in her work until she got promoted. She got to work at a higher position and eventually became a supervisor and a manager. All this because she started applying the skills that she have learned. Skills of delegating we can do at home. At work, we delegate tasks. We tell people, we motivate them. But at home, we tend to do everything on our own. Because sometimes we say it's easier if we do things on our own. But these are skills that we learned. Of what use will they be if we just keep it in one compartment? We have to be able to apply the skills we have learned in Toastmasters, at work, at church, or any of the other organizations into the rest of our lives. In that way, we can maximize our learnings.
I want to just, echo and agree with you so much. I've met so many people in Toastmasters who are not able to apply what they have learned in the club and in the organization in the real world. It's very compartmentalized for some people. They speak very well. They join contests. They speak. They give speeches for their projects. And yet when they're in their meetings outside or in their work, they're still quiet. They're still not talking. Diba? They're not able to bring what they have learned to that's the key lessons that is not caught by a lot of people. So I'm glad that you're pointing. This should be an eye opener for a lot of people, not just Toastmasters, but a lot of people should pay attention to this key lesson.
It's because oftentimes we tend to compartmentalize our lives. What is work is work. What is Toastmasters is Toastmasters.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like we were interviewing somebody for a position in Toastmasters, he had all the skills at his work and at his job. And he was not able to translate that when he was sharing his leadership skills with the panel. So we have to be able to mesh and join all these skills and make sure that we use them to the best of our ability. We have to apply the skills that we have learned, whether it's in work or in Toastmasters. It's not easy. Sometimes we tend to lose that, or maybe forget it. Or sometimes we say, I don't like to involve work in Toastmasters. I'm here in Toastmasters to forget about work, so I'm not going to use my skills at work here in Toastmasters. When in fact,
So it should be a deliberate effort, no, to
yes, it should be.
find ways to immerse or apply the skills. It should be a deliberate effort in society. Yeah.
Yeah, like I often tell this to new members, to not just in Toastmasters, but to, let's say, those young professionals who are just starting on their journey. I tell them, there's no magic wand that will make everything all right for all of us. It would depend on the individual. How much effort do we put into it? That is what we're getting back. I always tell them, what you put into Toastmasters, that is what you're going to get from Toastmasters. So we have to work for it. We have to be, as you've said, very deliberate about our intentions of applying the skills. So all these lessons, usually, we catch along the way. But oftentimes, we drop them. We forget about them. We look at something else. But these are lessons that have been repeating themselves along the way. And I think they will keep on repeating themselves until we catch them and make sure it sticks. So we have to learn how to know our audience and at the same time know our team. We have to be able to build our foundations and not just rely on the castles in the air. But sometimes we do have to stop and smell the flowers along the way. And when sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. But let us not forget the objectives. And after all these lessons that we have caught, we have to apply them in our lives. So those are lessons that I've caught. A lot of them I've dropped. A lot of them I've used tapes to make sure that they stick. So we have to do that.
There's a question being asked here, Elisa. So can you share an anecdote or a story or experience, how your experience or in Rotary, did you apply these skills? How were you able to use these skills or lessons that you learned in Rotary right now?
Oh, I've always said Toastmasters is selfish. It's a selfish organization because when we join, it's always me. I want to be better. I want to be a good leader. I want to be a better speaker, all this. In Rotary, it's the opposite. It's forward giving, serving the community. So it's going outside. So things that we learn, and they balance each other. Even at work, we have to make sure that we are able to look after ourselves, make sure that we're able to move forward. At the same time, we have to look outwards to the people that we're working. So if you're talking, let's say, of business, like in the drugstore, it's the Toastmaster skills that I learned is the way I communicate with the staff to ensure that they understand, they get the message of what we're trying to share with them. At the same time, the exposure to Rotary opens up my eyes, our eyes in management, that we have what we value might not be the same as what the staff have. For me, it might be that's a amount that we could wave away, but for them it's not. It's something that's
Yeah.
important. So it's something that we could apply. What I learned in Toastmasters and what I experienced in Rotary, I can apply it to work. And it's very, very effective.
Yeah. So, is this all the lessons you're going to share with us, Elisa, or is there a
Five
number
of,
five? Five
yeah,
more. There's
five.
one more. Okay.
No, five of them.
Oh, already five. Okay. Maybe we can do a quick summary
Yeah,
of the 5 lessons.
yeah. I'll share with you quick summary of all the 5. So we have number 1, know your audience, and more importantly, know your team. Second, build your foundation. It's not enough to have your castles and your dreams. You have to make sure that you have a working plan. Third, stop and smell the flowers. Make sure you are enjoying life as well. Have some me time. Have some time for your team, because banding together is just as important as setting a timetable. Candy Crush, keep to the objectives. Know the objectives. Fourth and fifth, apply your skills. Apply the skills that you have learned along the way. They all complement each other. And we have to make sure that we maximize the skills that we have. So these are some lessons that I've caught. I'm sharing with you 5 that I have that have made a mark in my life. Some of us would say those are very superficial, but oftentimes these are the ones that we miss. These are the ones we drop. These are the ones we need mostly when we work and when we live.
These actually what you're sharing with us are some of these are, we know this, but we need to be reminded, constantly reminded. Lessons are normally things that we sometimes slip and we don't catch, are things that we normally know, but if we're not reminded or we don't pay attention to them, they just slip by and we don't catch them, right? And this is very entertaining and very fun and illustrating for many of the people listening in. And your background cover, Elisa, it's a subtle suggestion of a upcoming book. Is there an upcoming book? Because the lessons you're sharing is very worthy of putting down and sharing with many people. So maybe if it's not a book, are there any activities or events or meetings that you can invite the audience to continue to learn from you?
The book, who knows? But I'm an avid Toastmaster. Oftentimes when they ask me for a short bio to introduce myself, I always tell them, professionally, I'm a pharmacist, I'm a part-time artist, I'm a frustrated gardener, and I'm a forever Toastmaster. So a lot of these lessons I learned and caught in Toastmasters. If you're interested in Toastmasters, just find one. It's easy. If you do not know a Toastmasters personally, you can go to www.toastmasters.org and find a club. They will share with you a club nearest you. But you can contact Mike, you can contact me. There are a lot of Toastmasters in the Philippines, and we meet usually either weekly or every other week. And there are varied clubs to choose from. A lot of the clubs now are interest-based, like if you're a financial planner, if you're a trainer, if you are let's say you would like one that is in Filipino, we have a Toastmasters club that uses the Filipino language. We have another club that's being formed that's going to use Bisaya as a language. So there are so many options to choose from. And it's not just speaking, it's speaking and leadership. That's where leaders are made. We have a Toastmasters, we have a Facebook for Toastmasters. It's Toastmasters International District 75 or Toastmasters International Philippines. You can just search for that if the name is quite long. So Toastmasters Philippines will lead you to a lot of options, district and individual clubs.
Yeah, so one of the lessons is join Toastmasters.
Yeah.
That is something that you can never go wrong with, because there are many learnings that can happen there. Yes, Elisa, you were saying something?
And the learnings are not limited to the meeting per se, because oftentimes a lot of the learnings I caught were with conversations with the leaders in the community and in the group. So I remember, like, if I go, and there are so many lessons I pick up along the way through conversations with the late GSD. Oftentimes when we go to his house, I usually go and share a few minutes with him at the library while the party is going on outside. I usually sit with him at the library and share things. He always loves to share his thoughts, leadership ideas, mentorship, and just life lessons. And these things we can pick up, and we don't usually get them by just reading. Conversations, repeated reminders. These are the venues wherein we can really, really catch these lessons.
Yeah, and just for the audience to know, Toastmasters is very active even during the pandemic. We are holding a lot of virtual meetings, and you can still continue to learn even during virtual meetings, right?
Yes, it's a new skill that we pick up. For a lot of Toastmasters, when we started the virtual meetings, we didn't have lightings, we didn't have clear microphones, we don't even know what ring lights were.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the evaluations at the start were about, you have a very dark screen, we cannot hear you, you're on mute. How do I share my screen? But at this time, people have gotten a new skill. I even have a certificate because I volunteered to Zoom Master. So they called me the Zoomer verse, the Zoom Master of the World something. Because I volunteered. I didn't know anything. I volunteered and I learned along the way. So this is
and to think that 2 years ago we've never heard of Zoom, right?
Yes. I was invited to a lot of virtual online clubs before, but I thought it was going to be very difficult. I thought I would need a lot of equipments, microphones, cameras outside of my laptop. When the lockdown happened, the leaders of the club had to get together. We said, if we don't do something, we're going to lose the club. So we had to explore. We tried Microsoft Teams, we tried the Facebook, the Messenger rooms, and what clicked was Zoom. So we all had to learn. The officers had to learn how to use Zoom. We had to be able to teach everybody how to use Zoom.
Yeah.
So now even the seniors would know. Sometimes I always have to go through and take care of the seniors. Like, for national conventions, they will, can you register me? So I have to register them. Then they will ask, how do I log in? I don't have my password. So we have to learn how to be patient and be able to teach people. So all these are skills we learn and we teach.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. So, ladies and gentlemen, any last message for our audience, Elisa?
Yes, Thank you for inviting me here tonight. It was indeed a mini journey for me to sit down and try to find the lessons that I have caught and the ones that stood out for me in the past years. And it's sometimes difficult to make a personal assessment wherein we try to find out what was effective for us, what did that work, what worked. And so all these are things that we learn, and we have to make sure that we apply them in our lives.
Yeah.
It's useless to learn all this if we couldn't apply them anywhere, not in work, not at home, but just at Toastmasters, or what you learn at work is just at work. It's going to be a useless lesson that you are not able to maximize. So the only way these lessons will be effective is we are able to apply it. So work on it, catch all these lessons, and apply them in life. So I do hope you look us up at Toastmasters and give it a try.
Yeah, so guys, you hope you caught the 5 lessons that Elisa Tai just shared with us here at the Leader's Edge. And who knows, in the next few months, we will invite her back again to share with us another new 5 lessons, number 6 to number 10 lessons on that we can catch as we learn in this life. Because after all, we have to keep on continue learning. And one way to continue learning is to click like, subscribe here to this channel here at the Leader's Edge, because when you click and like and subscribe, learning will never stop, because learning is a never-ending journey with limitless vistas. So next week, tune in for another wonderful episode. Episode number 5, we will be featuring Ramon Austria, and he'll be talking about life guide for winners. So ladies and gentlemen, stay safe. Good evening. Thank you, Elisa, and everybody. Good night.
Bye, Mike. Good night. Good night, everybody.